Okay, today we are going to begin our read aloud of Chapter 16 from Wanting More. Remember, our goal today is to imitate a diary or a journal entry from the voice of one of the characters that we are introduced to or continue with in Chapter 16 of Wanting More. Okay, here we go. Follow along as I read aloud. I think Kala Gul finally trusts us. Sometimes she sends Soraya and me to the marketplace to get things for the cook. Kala Karima gave me a gift of a new chaudhry. It's the light blue cotton kind with a mesh screen across the eyes. It leaves my hands free to carry things underneath. I could dress like Soraya, just with loose clothes and a parani tied properly to cover my hair. Nothing wrong with that. But this is the way the wives of the Prophet, peace be upon him, dressed, and this is the way Mor would have dressed. They were so strong. They were able to carry their vanity. Vanity meaning pride and self-love. I want to be like them, and it's a lot easier than constantly holding my parani across my face like I did before. When we go out, I feel so mysterious. Men nod at me and step out of my way. There's none of them to see. There's nothing for them to see. Even those men with a disease in their hearts can't imagine disgusting things about me. I thought I'd never get a feel for the stress of cabal. After a while, corners look familiar. Soraya is good at navigating. With her along, I don't have to worry about getting lost. Today, I took a different route, making our way onto a street that looks familiar to me. I know where we are. We have to go to this man's shop. Why? This was the man who found me and brought me to the orphanage. I see the place where I sat for all those hours. It's empty. Just some stains on the wall where someone threw their tea. There's the greasy mechanic shop. The place looks even smaller than I remember. Aga Akram's shop is dark when we arrive. There's a new sticky strip with only a few fly carcasses stuck to it, hanging from the ceiling. Soraya steps up, looking at the meat hanging on hooks. We need to buy some bones. We might as well get them here. I barely hear her. I'm listening for him. Finally, the back door opens and he walks in. He sees me and smiles, but he doesn't recognize me. How could he? I'm all covered up. He thinks we're just ordinary customers. He comes toward us, pointing at the cuts of meat. What can I get you today? Aga Akram, Azala Malakam. Don't you remember me? He peers at me closely and shakes his head. I'm sorry, sister. It's me, Jamila. He looks puzzled for a moment, and then his face lights up. Jamila, you were sitting outside my shop. That's me, and this is my friend Soraya from the orphanage. His face clouds over at the mention of the orphanage. And how have you managed there? Subhanallah. Very well. I'm so glad you took me there. You are? It is so wonderful to catch up. I ask about Tahira and the boys, and I ask about Kala, without feeling the least bit of sadness. I still would have liked to stay with them, but I would have felt bad for being a burden, and there's no doubt I would have been a burden. Soraya looks bored. I'm sure this meeting isn't as fascinating for her as it is for me. Finally, I say, Aga, it was so nice meeting you. Give my salams to Kala and Tahira. But Aga Akram looks alarmed. No, you two must be our guests tonight. Your Kala would never forgive me if I didn't bring you home to visit. Soraya says, it's getting late, Aga. We promised to be back soon. We do need some bones for the cook. How much? Aga Akram's face brightens. No, I won't take your money. Here. I'll get you some of the nicest bones. He keeps insisting, so in the end we have no choice but to visit. Soraya whispers to me, we're going to be late. Kala Gul is going to have a fit. I whisper back, we won't stay long. I don't remember it being such a short walk, just a few side streets and we're there. I do remember the staircase with this being this dim and narrow. When we arrive, it's such a scene of joy. The little boys are bigger, but Tahir is the same. Kala is very gracious. She feeds us till we're ready to burst. Leaving is hard. They say we must come back to visit and make us promise. Aga Akram says he'll walk us. He brings along Tahira. I'm glad they're coming. It's past Maghrib time. It will be totally dark by the time we get back. The streets are still bustling, mostly men doing business, doing the shopping for their wives. It looks so different in the dark. Aga Akram leads us up one street and down another. After the third turn, I wonder if he isn't supposed to go left at this junction. He said he goes right, and seems so sure of himself that I don't correct him. Now we are in a completely unfamiliar part of town. There's more damage here. Many of the houses have yet to be rebuilt from the years of war. There are few people on the streets. Soraya whispers, "This doesn't look right." Tahira says, "Baba, we're lost." So we see Baba again, and we can guess that it means not Jamila's father, but father in general. Baba means father. Nonsense, this is a shortcut. When we get to the end of the street down there, we'll reach the main boulevard. You'll see. Okay, I'm going to pause here. So I'll suggest before we move on to page 141 that you take a moment to pause as well. Think about what you've read so far and make predictions about where are Aga and Akram going to go. Are we at the climax yet? Is this the most exciting part of the story where we begin to have the biggest problems solved? Or what is happening next? Let's make a prediction. Okay, again, before we resume on page 141, let's think about how Jamila might be feeling as she is lost in the streets again with Aga Akram. However, she seems to be a little bit more confident, and let's pay attention to whether or not she actually knows the streets better and what she finds on her way. He sounds so sure of himself, so we continue along. But the street he's talking about turns out to be a dead end. I say, maybe we should knock on one of the houses and ask if they know how to get back to the main street. Aga Akram snorts. It's just a little further. That was the wrong street. It's the one up ahead. But when we get to it, he turns to us looking confused. I was sure it was this one. I catch my breath. Something moves in the shadows. A little piece of darkness. A blackness darker than the background. It's a cat. The cat looks so familiar. I'm sure I've seen that torn ear and those green eyes. I start walking down another alley. Aga Akram says, "Where are you going?" "I think it's down here." Tahira says, "It's so dark." Soraya's right beside me. "This can't be the way," but I'm sure it is. At the end of the alley, there's a large new door. But this is definitely the place. Before I can stop myself, I knock. Aga Akram looks surprised at my boldness. Masood opens the door. Ooh, so we just realized that she was looking for her old place. And we know it's because Masood, her stepbrother, opens the door. He looks different, less scruffy. It takes me a moment to realize it's because he doesn't have the crutches anymore. "Come right in," he says. "My mother will see you in a moment." I examine his feet to see which one is artificial, meaning fake, but he's wearing socks with his sandals and it's hard to tell. But the way he walks, he seems to drag his right just a bit. I can't remember which foot was gone. The courtyard has been cleared of bricks and rubble. They must have been working hard. It seems Baba had even started rebuilding with the undamaged bricks. Masood looks back to see if we're following. He doesn't recognize me. How could he? It's such a feeling of power to be hidden away from view, to see him, know who he is, while he has no clue. I do plan to tell him, just not yet, so we can guess that she's still wearing the gown, the parani, that extends and covers her face and herself. Soraya whispers, "Kalagul will be going crazy wondering where we are. This won't take long." Everything looks strange and smaller than I remember it. The furniture in the main room is more scratched and tattered, the walls dingier. The floor is rough and uneven. Did I really spend so many months here? It didn't look this shabby back then. But maybe that's because she doesn't have me to clean it anymore. I can't stop looking at Masood, and it seems he can't stop looking at Soraya. When he swallows, the knob in his throat bobs up and down. "Please sit down," he says. "My mother will be in here in a moment." Aga Akram looks even more confused. Soraya is looking around at the surroundings, glancing at me while she's wondering what I'm up to. It's hard to tell what Tahira thinks. She's wrapped up like I am. My heart is racing. I take deep breaths to calm it down. I can hear that woman talking to Masood in the kitchen. Something about rents and tenants. Aga Akram says, "They think we're here to rent the place." So there seems to be a misunderstanding, and it's in Jamila's favor, because they don't know who she is, but she knows who they are. A new curtain of beads separates the kitchen from the main room. She pushes it aside with a tinkering kind of noise and comes in. Her Pirani is still hanging half off her head, draped across her chest, not hiding the fact that her dress is too tight, especially across her breasts. The lines at the corners of her mouth are more etched, like she's been frowning a lot. Somehow that makes me happy. She sees us and puts on a smile. Welcome. We've been expecting you. I'm sorry to take so long to receive you. I let my servant go for the day. She doesn't have a servant. Aga Akram speaks up. I'm terribly sorry, but there seems to be some kind of mistake. No mistake. I'm sure you'll find the room very comfortable for your, she glances at me, wife and daughters. We should have the building finished in a month's time. Then you can move in. Aga Akram tries to say something, but she rides right over him. I know my husband should be speaking to you about this. She calls Masood. Dear, go and get your father. She smiles apologetically at us. Masood looks like he's going to argue, but then he ducks back behind the curtain of beads. In the silence, the tinkering of beads is very loud. Her face is red, and there seems to be a film of sweat on her upper lip. She jumps up. Would you like to see the room? Aga Akram stands up. I'm sorry, sister, but we're not here to see any room. Myself and my daughter were just walking these young girls home when we got lost. We wanted directions. With narrowed eyes, she cocks her head and gives us a sly look on her face. Walking these girls home? The way she says it makes me squirm. Aga Akram's face grows red. Soraya looks like she's going to slap her. Behind the mesh of Tahira's chaudhry, her eyes are wide. Just then, there's a loud banging at the door, and she jumps to her feet. Tashi says, just wait here. I'll deal with you later. And she runs to the door. Aga Akram gets to his feet and says, come, let's go. I say, please, Aga. In a minute. I want to see my father. Aga Akram and Soraya look shocked. Masood comes back in, without Baba. He glances at us, then walks through to his mother in the courtyard, talking to the new people. It's not hard to overhear him say, he won't get up. She hisses, make him get up. For a tiny moment, I almost feel sorry for her. Then she goes back to the new people, and in a loud voice says, well, brother, would you like to see the room now? I just warn you, there are other people here too, so you need to make a decision soon. Aga Akram whispers to me, Jamila, we really can't stay much longer. We need to get home. Tahira has school tomorrow. I'm being inconsiderate. We really should go. What difference will it make to see him? Moving on, next page, 145, close to the end. Masood comes back into the salon, looking shy. My mother told me to help you. Aga Akram stands up. Yes, please, can you let us know the way to the main boulevard? That's all we want. I need to take these girls back to the orphanage. Masood hesitates, glancing at Soraya. She glances back at him and then looks down, her eyelashes sweeping across the curve of her cheeks. I think she's doing it on purpose. Masood gulps again, so we can make an inference. Maybe there's a connection between these two characters. Let me show you the way. He leaves her mother and guides us down several dark alleyways and corridors until finally we get to a gate that opens out to the main street. Aga Akram is so relieved. Tashakir very much, young man. Masood keeps staring at Soraya. She looks so modest with the way her Pirani frames her face. He says, so you stay at the orphanage? Soraya nods. It was nice meeting you. Soraya nods again. I've never seen her so quiet. At the orphanage, Kalagol is waiting. When she sees us, her jaw falls open. She looks ready to yell, but then she sees Aga Akram and Tahira. Aga Akram says, I'm so sorry, sister. I hope you remember me. I was the one who brought Jamila here. We met today, and I insisted they come to dinner. This is my daughter. I'm so sorry to keep them so late. We got lost on the way back. Kalagol puts on a smile. Oh, please don't worry about it, sir. Then she puts an arm around each of our shoulders and says, much too cheerfully, all is well. Aga Akram frowns, says salams and leaves. As soon as he turns the corner, Kalagol screams at us for being so late. Soraya interrupts. We're sorry about that. We really did get lost. Aga Akram gave us the bones for free. Here's the money back. That makes her quiet. She counts the Afghanis in her hand, then she looks satisfied. So before we continue, I'm going to pause here. I want to think about Kalagol. What's her role? She seems to be making profit off of these girls and saving money. What do you think? Finish this chapter on your own, and we will discuss it later on.